Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So let's get into this topic here. As you guys know, we recently produced a show on this about 2 days ago, where the NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was speaking to the press before tip-off of the NBA Finals, and he was taking a range of questions from the press about a range of different things. And one of the reporters that was there asked him specifically about the John Morant situation, and basically, you know, where was it at? Where are we with the John Morant situation? As you all know, we're waiting to hear whether or not, the amount of games that John Morant is slated to miss with his suspension. So as Adam Silvers was speaking, he basically listed a bunch of things, but then he said, due to the investigation, that we've been able to find out some additional information that none of us here are privy to, because none of us are private eyes. Well, I could be wrong, so maybe there's some people that are private investigators watching these shows. But anyway, basically, he said that the NBA was able to unearth some additional information, right? Which means that, you know, they've conducted their research, and it looks like now they're most likely, gonna hand out a pretty significant punishment. So when this information was brought to Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless, when they were discussing it, Shannon Sharpe pretty much said that he believes that the NBA is going to try to make an example out of John Morant, and they're not going to play any games with him whatsoever. So what we want to do is want to play what Shannon Sharpe had to say on Undisputed yesterday, and then we're going to come back and give you guys our thoughts on this matter. So take a listen to that.
Skip, when we talked about this a couple of months ago, I said I don't believe anything is coming out because the playoffs are going on, the NBA finals are going to happen, and he doesn't want to do anything to take away from these guys' shining moment, because this is about the players that's in the playoffs, not John Morant. I will deal with Ja at a later date and time. Did you hear what he said, Skip? He said, in terms of the timing, we've uncovered a fair amount of additional information. Stuff that we didn't even know. We didn't know. All we saw was the gun flashing on IG. He said, but through our investigation, let me tell you something about these leagues, the NFL, the MLB, they got the best of the best. If you don't work for the federal government, you work for a sport. You work for one of these leagues, Skip. And there isn't anything that they can't find out. Yeah. When I say anything, any and everything, Skip, he says, so in assessing discipline is appropriate. If that's the case, we look at both history of prior acts, but then we look at the individual players' histories as well, and the seriousness, of course, of the conduct. Those are all things that get factored. Skip, remember he said the seriousness of gun violence in the country? How Ja could have maimed someone, he could have killed someone, he could have hurt someone seriously.
Or himself.
Or himself. And then flip it back 2 months later, boom, here we are again. That's history. There's a prior histories. He's going to drop the hammer. I don't know what the punishment's going to be, Skip. I don't know what the Players Association and Adam Silver has agreed upon. But whatever. I know the NBA, they love this kid, Skip. They believe he has an opportunity. He's a superstar, and he can be one of the faces. But they're going to send him a message. They're going to send him a message. So whatever that message is, whatever the max games that he can get, and hopefully he'll learn his lesson. Hopefully he'll learn his lesson. Hopefully he's getting the help. Hopefully he's getting the counseling, the talking to that he needs to help him understand the seriousness of what he stands a chance to lose. Because right now, I don't think he gets the gravity of what's in his hands. It's the bird in the hand, Skip. You know, when the guy asks him, say, is the bird dead or alive? He got his hands closed. He says, only you know. The bird's in your hands. Ja, only you know how this is going to turn out. Your future, your career is in your hands. But the punishment is going to be severe.
So you heard what Shannon had to say. Essentially, he believes that the NBA may drop the hammer on John Morant, especially after the fact that they said that they discovered additional information. Now, why is that important? The reason that's important is that, you see, prior to that incident in the strip club, many of us were not privy to all of the other incidents that had been occurring in the past surrounding John Morant. It was only after that incident came out that it kind of put a spotlight on Ja, and then people started to do some digging. And then after that, we found out that there were a litany of incidents Literally like a litany, like a list of things that have, that occurred. So in the case of the NBA's investigation, now that Ja has had a second incident, it may have caused them to search, to search even, to dig even deeper, to understand that, wait a minute, before we suspend dude for X amount of games, let's ensure that we understand really the scope of things. And if they found out more incidents, well, that may cause them to even hand out an even steeper punishment. So if initially they were thinking of giving him, let's just use a number, 20 games, and they find out that there was even more incidents that the public was unaware of, then they may decide to push that to 30 or even 40 games. No one really knows. Now, as far as Shannon Sharpe saying that he believes the NBA is going to make an example out of Ja, I think he has a point there, and I'll tell you why. For a few reasons. Number one, Ja Morant is one of the stars of the NBA. So if they give out a significant amount of games in terms of his suspension, they want to send a jolt to his system to really, for him to be like, whoa, like, wait a minute, this is serious. This is very, 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 very serious, right? And it's only after you do something drastic, that's when some people kind of understand that, wait a minute, this situation is not a laughing matter, right? So if they do that, it can send Ja a message, number one. Number two, it will send their sponsors a message, their partners, the people that are affiliated with the NBA, because the NBA is a multi-billion-dollar business, right? So if they send the right message to their sponsors, like if an incident like this occurs, we're going to move swiftly, and we're going to take the proper measures to ensure that something like this won't happen again, then it's going to give these sponsors and these partners confidence in the NBA that they're going to be doing the right thing moving forward, and therefore they will want to remain attached to the NBA. And number three, the messages that the other message it sends is to the players coming up, the players that are going to be coming after Ja Morant, right? So if they think like, oh, maybe I can kind of do the stuff that Ja Morant is doing, if they see what Ja went through, they're going to be like, man, I'm not trying to do that. I don't want to end up in that type of situation. So it sends a message where guys can now actually learn from the Ja Morant situation. And it's a real thing because a lot of people can learn from a lot of people's experiences. It's simple. If you're walking down the road and you see somebody walking up the street with a black eye and he's like, hey man, they're down there beating up people, you don't need to go down there to go figure out whether or not that's true. You could just look at this guy and say, well, they just beat him up. Maybe I need to go on another street. So you can learn from his experience. And maybe that's the message that they want, because they want to send a message. I also, take Shannon's comments very seriously because he was a former athlete who played in the biggest league in the United States for the NFL. So if he's saying these things, if he's saying that these leagues have some of the top investigators in the world, I believe him because he was a former NFL player. So he would know what he's talking about. To me, I hope whatever amount of punishment that the NBA gives Ja Morant, I hope it works, right? That he's able to get back on track and just kind of, put all of this behind him and move forward. Because the guy is projected to become a billionaire by the time he's 30, or at least before LeBron James became a billionaire, which is crazy. So why would you jeopardize something like that? So to me, I think it's a wait and see game. We're going to definitely find out what the NBA's decision is going to be after the NBA finals. So the question is simply this: do you agree with Shannon that it's going to be a significant punishment, or do you think that no, they're just going to give him a slap on the wrist and move on? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts in the comment section. We catch you on the next show. Peace.